recorded the whole video, but I only recorded five, like 6 seconds of Seek on my lap and me petting her. Today is March 21st, 2025. The time is currently 8:05 p.m. I guess I can correct it because I said that we would do 9 cantos of Aniara today, but we're gonna do 6. Luckily, they're not that long, except for the last one. I don't know if it'll make up 10 minutes, but I'll talk. Well, this is these cantos are real poetic in form. They're freak shit. I might just do 10 cantos. We'll see. 21. But doubt is an acid which corrodes more dreams than any dreamer can conjure up, and only through the Mima can we see and relive the warmth and beauty of our dreams. I treasure therefore every memory I can that has consolation's glow and recalls life, and each time terror tiptoes through the ship, and fear and despair tear at our nerves, I serve a few of Mima's dream preserves. 22. The doctor who keeps watch over our eyes and sees the zest for life grow dim in them is perplexed by lacus lachrymalis, where crocodiles are no more to be seen. A flood of tears like this in Mima's halls pays tribute to the distant scenes of Doris, and yet it almost seems as though these tears, despite their obvious sincerity, are cold, like crystal water risen from great depth. They fall with a too pure transparency, like virgin rain which never touches earth, our disillusioned weeping in the Aniara of our thoughts. 23. We found support from the chief astrolabe. He knew all about the light of distant stars. But suddenly the star of reason was extinguished in the chief star master's own brain. Pressed to his death by our expectancy, his mind gave way and died of spiritual need. Keep this passage, keep it in mind. Just think about that and put a pin in that. 24. Frustration storms on its own way, blasphemes and curses space and time. But many think already that we suffer just punishment as we fly on to the Lyra, for we ourselves by the hard laws of space have shut ourselves in the sarcophagus, where we must conduct our own living burial, till all our vanity lays down its scepter, after a millennium or a myriad years. Some distant sun will capture a gray moth, which flies towards it as though to the lamp of autumn long ago in Doris's valleys. Then our space journey will come to an end. We'll all sleep heavily in Aniara, and things will quickly change in Mima's hall. The recording that doesn't exist, I said after a millennium or myriad years. The text says or a myriad years. That's for my mother. I said it right the first time, and I said it as the text says it this time because I'm reading what the text says so that you get what the text says. But also go read it on your own and maybe read the other translation because it's different, but like the contents of the story are not different, but the words are. The other one rhymes a lot. 25. The sarcophagus bears us quietly on. We cannot harm the planet as before, nor even spread again the peace of death. Here we can question freely and answer truthfully, while our lost spaceship Aniara flies on through lonely space, time left behind. The stone-deaf mute began 26. The stone-deaf mute began thus to describe the worst sound he had heard. You could not hear it. Yes, just before my eardrums burst apart, the last sound came, a sigh of surging reeds, when the phototurb burned and blasted Dorisburg. Do you mind your loud-ass mouth? This is an important passage. This is a really important canto. You could not hear it, whispered the deaf mute. My ear was not in time to hear when souls were torn apart and bodies hurled away as 6 square miles of townland twisted themselves inside out as the phototurb destroyed the mighty town which once was Dorisburg. Even thus he spoke, the deaf mute who was dead, and since it said that stones cry out in anguish, This was the dead man calling through a stone. He shouted through the stone, "Can you hear me?" He shouted through the stone, "Can't you hear me?" I come from that great city, Dorisburg. And then the blind man started to describe the appalling fiery glare that burned out his eyes. Describe it he couldn't. He mentioned but one detail. He mentioned but one detail he saw with his neck. His whole scalp, flayed open, was an eyeball, which, dazzled beyond the bounds of bursting, was lifted, whirled away in blinded trust in the sleep of death. But that was not a sleep. Even so his words are like the deaf mute's, and since it said the stones cry out in anguish, so he cries out through the stones with the deaf mute. They cry out through stones to each other. They cry out from the stone pits with Cassandra. I dash towards the Mima as though I might arrest the frightful action with my anguish, but Mima shows it all, uncompromising, transmits to the last picture, fire and slaughter, and turning to the passengers, I scream my agony of, "Stop! Don't get me! Don't do that!" And turning to the passengers, I scream my agony of pain at Doris's destruction. I can see you pretending to stretch. There is protection against almost anything, against fire and damage caused by storm and cold. Yes, count up everything you can think of, but there is no protection against man. When it is really necessary, no one sees clearly anyhow. No, only when the point was to destroy, to obliterate all that the heart had saved of dreams to live on through cold evil years. Mima's put out of action by a sheer blue blaze. Don't. Why are you trying to get me? I'm doing a serious reading. You're the getting getter. Hi. Oh my god. Don't. I heard you open your mouth to go to bite me. What's wrong with you? Mima's put out of action by a sheer blue blaze, and I'm struck dumb by what's befallen. The wretched earth. The blaze shoots here, into my heart, as into an open sore, and I, our faithful Mima's blue liturgist, was with frozen blood the hideous tidings here. Doris has perished in distant Dorisburg. I'm not gonna go more because there's 2 minutes. Because I don't want you to get me. Uh, Aniara was written in 1939, I'm pretty sure. Um, and is was written by Harry Martinson um, as a lot of his anxieties and thoughts about nuclear warfare um, and the existence of the atom bomb and all of that. He was also close friends with Niels Bohr. Um, so there's a lot of I've seen reviews where it's talking about how like well the science is inaccurate, and I think a lot of them are like from modern times. Which first of all, once again, this was written in 1939. Of course, the science isn't accurate, um, but I think that it was very like he chose what he wanted to be accurate and what he didn't. Like he made up a lot of things based on theories that were real and relevant. Um, and like I think that because first and foremost it's a story and a poem. Um, it's not about being accurate science. Um, but like instead of it being a nuclear blast, it's the phototurb, and places on Earth are replaced by
different names. We haven't seen any of them yet, except for Doris and Dorisburg, which I believe that they're both meant to be Earth, but I think also that Dorisburg is an actual town and Doris is Earth. It's poems. Uh, but I had a point, and I got distracted by being mildly annoyed at people. So I was talking about him being a close friend. Yeah, because he talks to Niels Bohr about um science stuff. Um, and like the thing that I would say is like finding inaccuracies in it. Because yeah, it doesn't like say anything about how they're getting their food source or all of that shit, where they're getting their oxygen, but it doesn't need to. You just kind of accept that the spaceships are the Golgonda. Um, but it commits very hard to space and the vastness and coldness of it. And I think that that is like the main thing. Sorry. But also there's like made up math and shit that I shit you not. There's a thing that's called the I think it's the gender tables, but it's gender with a J. Um, this was also written in Swedish, so I assume in the original Swedish it's also that, and that's where a lot of stuff is. Um, Also, it, it's interesting as a poetic epic and sci-fi, because like most of the time, if you're thinking of poetic epic, it's like Epic of Gilgamesh or one of them Greek ones, or maybe Beowulf. Um, but those are all like very fantasy archetype things, where having the because the urge of a poetic epic is to let not as much create characters as create um, like archetypes and concepts. So you don't see, um, I mean, well, okay, there are characters created, but it's usually main characters. And Aniara follows this. I've only ever read Epic of Gilgamesh as another poetic epic. I should read Beowulf and others. But like people get reduced to a thing. And that's something that I think has been seen because Daisy Duty um, is like personification of fun, love, and sex. Um, that's not fun, love, and sex. Fun, love, and sex. Um, but just like we're having a great time. We're dancing the yerg, and like that's her thing, and that's what most of the characters are. Is like most characters don't get names. She is um one of I think four named characters. Um, and she's in this uh the position of still being like not a characterized character exactly. There's a really good piece of imagery later. Um, I'm mostly still talking because I'm playing with Seek, and I fear if I stop, then she's going to get me. Um, so I'm gonna leave this on and run her through heaven as she does this. She doesn't get it. She just runs.
this earlier today. She gets so flat. Hold on. It's so funny. She just gives up on she gives up on getting it and just runs. She didn't even try. She didn't even go the right way. So this is my goal to tire her out. And I think that the reason that she's getting me and biting me is because her favorite guy isn't here. So now I have to become her favorite guy. But I don't want her to bite me because I don't want to get bitten. You saw that. No attempts to get it. She just gives up and runs. She looks so stupid. Why do you like that? Why did you go that way? What are you even doing? Oh, she's actually getting it. Kind of. What was that? I think I've successfully tired her out more. Okay. Hopefully now it's nap time and not getting time.